about our drinks free today? Welcome back, Javonte Williams.
Well, like, how great is that? So Javonte Williams, goes down with an injury that we were like, and did not look good for a long time. And like in terms of all the news that was coming out of Denver,
yes,
he might miss half the season. He might miss the full season. We don't know when he's going to come back. Not only is he back, but he played this past weekend. Javonte Williams, drinks for free, had the same timeline as Breece Hall. Connor.
Look at him.
And look at Javonte Williams out there making moves, playing contact
Take
football.
That,
Dagger. A week 4 torn ACL, LCL, and a PCL injury for Javonte Williams, and he is back in the middle of August with the 3 rush attempts for 12 yards and also 4 catches for 18 yards for the Denver Broncos.
Which is nice. The question has never been Javonte Williams' talent. The question was, is he going to be healthy? Is he going to be fully healthy? Now, they still use Samaje Perine some. Like, Samaje Perine is going to be a thing this year. Javonte Williams is not going to be a bell cow running back. That is not how Sean Payton runs his offense. I don't think that's what's going to happen. Having said that, I do think you'll see Javonte Williams' ADP start to rise. And if you drafted him earlier in a best ball or in a league that drafted earlier, you're feeling pretty good after what you saw this past weekend as well. I currently have him at 29. He'll move up a little bit, not a much. I mean, again, because I do think Perine's going to be a thing, but he needs to be there in the the mid tier. Like he's a lower end RB2, higher end flex.
Yeah, I would have thought the issue is that Samaje Perine had 6 of the 7 snaps on third down. That seems like a very defined role there. And if Perine's going to get the third down snaps, it means he's probably going to be the 2-minute hurry-up guy. And so there's probably just the ceiling on Javonte, but great to see him out there this early.
Yeah. Most importantly, he drinks free here.
Yes.
He drinks free.
That's what he cares about.
More running back news, this time not looking great for Devon Achane of the Dolphins. Dolphins coach Mike McDaniel said he suffered a shoulder injury in the team's preseason game against the Texans. Achane, who's obviously been working behind the likes of Raheem Mostert. Jeff Wilson's been out this summer, but we expect Jeff Wilson to work ahead of him as well.
We've seen more, Myles Gaskin and Savon Ahmed. Look, I love Devon Achane, not Devon Echani, as some on the show. Achane, as other people on the show have called him.
Yes.
Yeah, Devon Achane is great. And I actually think you would never want anyone to get injured, right? And we're hoping for the best. It sounds like he's going to miss a few weeks, nothing serious. It does mean he's going to fall further behind in his development. It was clear that Wilson and Mostert were the starters here. The thing that I will say, though, is Devon Achane is a really talented player. And I think this is going to drop his ADP significantly. And I still do not mind a late-round flyer on this kid. Like, again, it might be second half of the year before he is somebody that gets up to speed and has a fantasy-relevant role on this team. But we all love the Dolphins' offense. And obviously, Mostert and Wilson have struggled with health throughout their careers. I still think Achane is a very viable late-round flyer, but certainly not somebody that looks like you can count on early in the season.
Yeah, I think last year, minutes after we interviewed Raheem Mostert on this show, the Dolphins traded for Jeff Wilson, which tanked Raheem Mostert's value. And then days after, producer Damien started calling Devon Achane Devon Achane. He does his shoulder. So we've really got the curse on the Dolphins running back. I think in terms of Achane's value, what was always going to promote his value was an injury to Raheem Mostert. And until that point, he's a flyer, but I don't think this really sets him back that much because it's really more dependent on the other guys.
Well, look, I will say Mike McDaniel really liked the biggest quality that Achane has is speed, which is what this team is built around. This offense for Mike McDaniel is built around. And the other thing is again, like there's draft capital there. Like this is somebody that Mike McDaniel, went out and got. I believe he was a 3rd-round pick.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head, like, and they the reports
they didn't have a lot of picks.
Huh?
They didn't have a lot of picks.
They didn't have a lot of picks, and this was somebody that, Mike McDaniel kind of stood on the table for and said, go get me Devon Achane. So, look, he obviously, because of his time in San Francisco, he had a connection with Mostert and Wilson as well, both guys he brought in. But, yeah, I mean, I'm not ready to throw fantasy dirt on Devon Achane just yet. Again, he's a second half of the year player for us.
Yeah, and Raheem Mostert's going as RB 46 in drafts right now. That seems a little bit low. He was RB 25 last year, and I know that Wilson comes in and he took some of his time, but at the same, like Raheem Mostert again, unexciting from a fantasy drafting perspective, but just solid, and looks now to be the lead back on what could be, conceivably the best offense in football or thereabouts.
I think both Mostert and Wilson, to your point, Jay, are very undervalued, and I get it. It's a committee, and you're not sure this or that, but like, they are going well below where their value is. Both guys are values, especially, again, if you're going wide receiver and tight end early. Like if you're employing some version of a 0 RB or waiting, like those are guys that I think you can target because both will have more value than where they're being drafted.
Yep.
Another name with a big weekend, and he didn't need much work to have that big weekend. Jaylen Warren from the Steelers rushes once, has a 62-yard touchdown against the Bills. This is a backfield guys that I think often gets viewed as, hey, Najee Harris is one of the workhorse backs in the league. Barry, do you think that changes in some capacity because of how impressive Warren is starting to look?
I think so. This is somebody that started to eat into Najee Harris's playing time last year. Like he came in and so they were already going to use him on third down. But like if you watch that game, he also he'd come in on a third down, they'd convert the third down, and then he'd stay in for the first down and get a carry. And I believe the 62-yard touchdown run came on one of those, after the third down, next carry kind of thing. And so Warren, who last year averaged 5.6 yards per touch, compared with just 4 for Najee Harris, he had 6 different games last year where he had 9 or more touches, which isn't a lot, 9 or more touches. And he averaged over 67 yards from scrimmage last year. Jaylen Warren is one of my favorite kind of late-round flyers. I'm at running back 41. I have him in Scott Fishbowl. I have a lot of Jaylen Warren so far. This is only going to increase his ADP, but I think he's somebody that will carve out a good-sized role in what I think is going to be a better than people expect Steelers offense. But more importantly, there's not an inconceivable path to playing time. Mike Tomlin is hey, you earn it on the field. And I think we are past the draft capital of Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren where you're like, okay, it's definitely got to be Najee Harris. If Jaylen Warren continues to outperform him, you could certainly say committee, or you could see Warren in some cases potentially overtake, it being 60-40 Warren to Harris or something like that. Najee Harris isn't going away, but I think, if you want to do a fantasy winners and losers segment from week 2 of the preseason, Jaylen Warren is a big winner, and Najee Harris certainly took a hit.
Yeah, and Najee Harris isn't Derrick Henry or Saquon Barkley. He doesn't have the value and the name for that franchise to just get that workhorse role guaranteed to him. He's had 2 seasons in the NFL. He's been under 4.0 yards per carry both seasons. Warren was up around 5 last year, albeit on a limited sample compared to Harris. And I just think that, look, there are ways where Harris is the workhorse again. There are ways that Warren takes the role from him. I think the most likely thing is that Warren cuts into his work to the point where Warren outperforms his current ADP where he's going to RB 48 and Harris underperforms RB 10.
I think the perception was that, Harris is the guy and Warren is more of an insurance back. They'll use him a little bit on third down. And I think this is going to be more of a committee than I think people expected. People did expect Najee Harris to be, some people, not everyone, not this table, but whatever. There are some people that expected Najee Harris to be kind of a workhorse back, and I don't think that's going to happen. I think if you have Najee Harris on your team, I think what you're hoping for, I literally think best case scenario right now is 65-35 Harris to Warren, and it wouldn't be surprising to me if it's 60-40 or 55-45 Harris to Warren, or even flipped at some point in the season. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and RotoWorld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from RotoWorld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.